it was the Olympic marathon, and I just stared at the TV for a second, and I thought, I can do that. I
Mhm.
always try to get them back into the house somehow, take them
Uh-huh.
home, say, here's your dog. He's out chasing me on the road or whatever.
You're too
Um,
nice.
99% of the people in this country are good people. Once we got through Ohio, there wasn't a day that somebody didn't stop and ask me what I was doing
Mhm.
and what they could do to help.
So we have Patrick Binienda. Did I say that right?
That's as close as you can get. That's fine.
Okay.
It's Binyenda. It's fine.
All
You
right.
do. It's all right. Nobody
Okay.
gets it right the first time.
Very well. Well, we'll keep trying. Patrick, it's an honor to have you. You contact me because I always invite people that ran across America to do a podcast. I think it's a great story that I like to tell. And please start telling us, what did you do and who are you? Where are you from?
Uh, all right. Well, right now I'm in Georgia. I've been in Georgia since I left college. I
Mm,
grew up in Michigan, um, and that's where I got kind of introduced to running. 1976. My roommates were laughing while they were watching television. I walked in the room and I said, "What are you laughing about?" And they pointed at the TV and they said, "There's a bunch of people out here running. They look exactly like you." And it turned out it was the Olympic marathon. And I just stared at the TV for a second and I thought, I can do that.
uh-huh.
And they just laughed. And I had never done any kind of running, and but it just appealed to me just automatically. And the next day I went out and ran a few miles, and it was like I was hooked. And so my goal was to run a marathon, and it just kind of took off from there. I ran my first marathon in '78. 1984, I ran my first ultra marathon. 1985, I did a big trip around North America by bicycle. And then when I got back, I got more into ultra marathons, and over the
Mhm.
years, just it just continued to evolve, and I did more and more longer and longer runs. And a few years ago, my wife looked at me and said, "I think it's time for us to go across the country." And I agreed, and that's how we ended up doing it. I really thought that wasn't ever going to happen
Uh-huh.
because of all the things that comes into life along the way. And
Mhm.
my wife was always really supportive of my running, and all of a sudden, it just became a reality. I could actually think about doing it. And so in 2018, I started training. In 2019, we sold our house, we bought an RV,
Mhm.
and we drove up to Delaware and started the run. And
And where did you end?
in Oregon,
In Oregon. So
yes,
you was it a northern route mostly, or did you zigzag
mostly a
around?
northern route. Yeah,
Mhm.
we uh, we just kind of looked at the different routes available. Where the roads were, um, where it probably would we would. One of the things we tried to do was use a lot of the bicycle trails going across,
Mhm.
but that didn't work out after a while.
No?
But that was our goal, was to try to uh, make it so I wasn't running on busy roads all the way across. We wanted to be
Mhm.
something that would be um, enjoyable. And running on busy roads, my wife just didn't like that part.
Yeah, it
So
is
we tried to
boring.
pick a route that was uh, more. rural in
Mhm.
nature, which is easy to do once you get out west.
Yeah, but what happened to the bicycle paths that you said it didn't work out? Uh,
Yeah,
what
well,
was
the
it?
problem with the bicycle paths is that they're not always bicycle paths. They're you you end up on the road, but with a little sign saying, "Follow,
Ah,
this is the bicycle path."
oh, they are
And it
virtual.
really isn't. It's not really a bicycle path. It's just
Ah,
you're on the road. And
okay.
so it really wasn't helping me that much. And it
Uh-huh.
was a lot more miles because it would just go all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to Indiana and I looked at the map and I said, we can't do this. If we keep doing it this way, um, we're going to run into snow in the Rockies. I
Uh-huh.
said, that you driving that big old RV and me running through the snow in the Rockies, I don't think that's a good idea.
Uh-huh.
And my wife was really not happy with me making that decision, but
Mhm.
after a couple days, she agreed that that was probably the best decision because as it turned out, we did end up having one day of snow on a high mountain pass, and it was dangerous. And she was very glad that it wasn't more than just one day.
Mhm.
So um, that was really what determined everything. You know, I did this bicycle trip back in 1985, and I had been up along the Rockies for a good portion of it. And I got to see what the weather was like even in the summertime. And if you don't go through the Rockies in the summertime, you're going to run into snow or, just really bad weather. And driving an RV that, she wasn't this expert truck driver or something that could just
Mhm.
handle this vehicle. And I'm kind of a weather wimp. That's why I live in Georgia. I, I I grew up in Michigan. I
Uh-huh.
wasn't a big fan of snow or cold.
Uh-huh.
Just all the friends of mine were growing up outside playing in the snow. I'm inside watching movies.
Whereabouts
So
in Georgia are you?
actually, I'm in Blue Ridge, Georgia. It's up in the mountains.
Uh-huh.
We do get a little bit of snow in the wintertime, but not like
Okay.
what I got up in Michigan.
You see a lot of
So
motorcycles there during summer.
yes, yes. When
People
I
go
got
to
to
ride that.
Georgia, it was like
Yeah,
the world opened up to me because I could run year round.
right.
I couldn't do that in Michigan.
Yeah.
Once Michigan hit, you're indoors, and that just didn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
So, um,
Well, not the reason that I came to Florida, as you can see behind me, but here in snowy Miami. Not the reason that I came here, but yeah, if you are in Florida, you can run all year.
yes,
Yeah, I can even ride a motorcycle all year here.
yeah, exactly.
That's really good.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what is you did that in 2018, you said, right? During summer, I presume.
2018, I started training for it. 2019, I
19
did
you
the
did.
run.
Okay. And then you finish, you did it all over one summer. And so
Yes,
you I'm presuming
started
you're
on
fast.
started at yeah,
Yeah,
started the beginning of June and ended in the towards the end of October.
cool. June, July, August, September, October, 4 or 5 months.
It was like
About
143 days or something like that.
yeah. So yeah, okay. About the same time that I did, and
Okay.
very similar, very nice, very easy pace. And did you have the RV around you, like, or meeting you every day, or did you ever have to camp or stay in someone else's home or anything like that?
I didn't have to camp out or stay in somebody else's home.
Mhm.
Um, my wife would drop me off in the morning wherever we were. Um, if I if we stayed and where I finished, and all I had to do was walk out of the RV and go.
Mhm.
But most of the time we'd have to, she'd pick me up, drive us to the spot where we were going to spend the night
Mhm.
there. Then she'd drive me back to the spot I left.
Mhm.
And then I'd catch up with her after a few hours. She would have lunch ready. I'd stop and have lunch with her. And
Mhm.
then she would take off and I'd meet her at the end of the day.
She was a
So,
full support team in that
oh,
case.
absolutely. When
Like,
it comes to it's what I tell everybody is without her, I don't do this
mhm.
because the logistics involved, she handled everything. Whereas all I had to do is just go out and run.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, she didn't know anything about RVs, but by the end of it, she
She was
knew
she was an expert.
everything about an RV. I mean, how
Yeah.
to turn it in a narrow road,
Uh-huh.
um, all the if anything went wrong, how to fix it. If she had to take it somewhere to get it fixed, she took it while I was out running.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was she handled all the logistics involved. It was
Uh-huh.
amazing what she did on her end.
Cool.
So
And
she really deserves more credit for it than what I did. Because
was this it
it was a lot
was
harder because she never experienced anything like this. This was all brand new to her. I'd been, like I said, I cycled around the country, so I kind of had an idea what it was going to be like.
Mhm.
I didn't know what it was going to be like in some aspects because when you're on a bicycle, you can go places where you can't run.
Yeah.
And you can run in places where you can't bike.
Right.
So uh, that was the main difference for me. Um, because I ended up in some spots when I was running, and I'm like, what am I doing out here? It was
Mhm.
it was crazy with the traffic. Whereas if I was on a bike, I could just hurry up, get over to pass it, and it wouldn't be a problem. But when
Mhm.
I'm on foot and there's like a 2 foot space between me and the edge of the road, and there's cars traveling both ways at 70 miles an hour,
Mhm.
it's it was kind of scary.
Yeah, I actually for that reason, bicycles freak me out because I can't I can't be riding with my back to the traffic,
Ah.
without seeing the traffic. No matter how many mirrors I have, they are not good enough. It freaks me out. So I don't bike. I sometimes from here to the beach, but not
Yeah,
nothing more than that. Uh, and when I ran, I was always facing the traffic, so at least
right.
I can be looking at the next car that is going to try to kill me and jump out
Yeah,
of the way. And it happened a couple times. So I was thinking, wow, if I was on a bicycle, this is the moment that I died. And
yeah,
I was always very aware of it. And even when I'm driving and I see people riding bicycles, I fear for them. you know
yeah.
I give them plenty of
I,
space because I fear that.
I gotta say, I've ridden my bicycle all over Georgia, especially in the Atlanta area,
Mhm.
and it's like you say, it's really dangerous. But on my bike trip, I rode 13,000 miles. And I never had one bad experience out there.
Mhm.
People gave me a lot of leeway. Maybe it's because I chose, well, most of the time I was on back roads, but I got a lot of help from people along the way. That was a very
Mhm.
different trip because
Yeah.
I rode with other guys, but 60% of the trip I rode totally alone. And I did stay at people's homes and I did camp out most of the time. And I had to ride on some places that, the traffic was always behind me. I was just part of the traffic. But in 13,000 miles, I never had
Yeah,
to worry.
that freaks me out. because
Yeah,
because
it was
because it only has to fail once.
right.
It fails once and you're
But
done.
Yeah. Well, let me tell I've been hit 3 times on a bicycle
Mhm,
and been to the hospital a couple
mhm,
of times, but
mhm,
that was in Atlanta.
mhm.
And outside of Atlanta, when I started getting out on the roads all across the country, I went through 32 different states, 2 Canadian provinces, and I walked into Mexico for lunch. So I did get a good
Uh-huh,
idea of the United
uh-huh,
States,
mhm.
and I never had any problems like I had here, mostly in Atlanta.
Do you agree with me in my idea that that 90% of all the danger when you're out there is in the cities or on the edges of the cities, but when you are in the country, it's generally really safe in every
Yeah,
aspect. Every aspect.
yeah,
I'm talking about, you know, crime, dogs, traffic, food quality, everything. The
yeah,
countryside seems to be so much better to me.
yeah. I will say again, I didn't have any really bad experiences out there. Maybe, and in some ways, I think because where my wife did most of my mapping of my course,
Uh-huh.
so she saw that there was a parallel road to the busy road. She put me on that empty parallel road where I was
Mm-hmm.
just all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have to worry about anything except the one thing I would miss out on was that there was a lot less um, services available. So I couldn't stop and buy something to eat or drink
Mm-hmm.
along the way,
Mm-hmm.
which I kind of liked about the city because I'd be running by, I could stop at a gas station
Mm-hmm.
or any little place that had food or water or whatever. Um, there were places out west where I would just run forever and didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think that's the kind of thing that I would think about. Is like, what happens if she doesn't show up and I got no place to go because there's nothing
Uh,
out here.
yeah.
But
Well,
fortunately, she always showed up whenever she
it
said she was
happens what
going to.
happened to me every day. She never showed up when I was running. So I had to I had to find a place to camp and better
Yeah,
be carrying some food.
yeah, yeah. But that was, you know, when it comes to dogs and other animals, I was always more afraid of the dogs getting hit by a car than the dog attacking me. My
Uh,
experience out there was that they would come out into the road and they'd rather follow me or sniff me or want to play with me rather than bite me.
I had a
So I
really
always had to
funny
turn around and help them get back home.
Yeah, I had a really funny situation with a dog in Louisiana that he got out of a house and started following me. And I guess he made me his family instantly
Yeah,
because he wouldn't leave. I kept
right.
walking, I was jogging, walking, jogging, walking, and this dog was with me all the time. But then I got into a busy road. There was like 2 lanes on each side separate, and the cars were driving fast, and this dog
Yeah,
would see like a bird or a squirrel somewhere, and he would run for it and try to catch it, but sometimes he was on the other side of the road, so he kept
right.
crossing the road completely dangerously, right? And the
Yeah,
cars would slow down sometimes, dangerously, and the drivers would yell at me thinking that it was my dog, right? Now I look like a crazy guy on the side of the road with a dog that is blocking traffic,
right.
and that and one of them even stopped, say, "Are you fucking crazy with it?" I said, "Not my dog." What can I
Yeah,
do? And then so then then I ran. I thought, okay, I'll go as fast as I can. Let's see if I can but the fastest that I can for me was not much faster than the dog could do. So I would run like a mile as fast as I could, and then I would be totally exhausted. And 5 minutes later, the dog would catch up and be
That's right.
next to me. And I thought, this is a problem, right? And I was still like 10 miles to the next city. I thought I need to find a solution. So I thought, well, if I cannot outrun the dog, at least I should be able to outsmart it, right? And I was at least that. And I was thinking about how things that I learned reading about how animals run and how we run. And I thought, okay, the dog has to do one step per breath. No, he cannot unlock that. We are the only
Right.
mammals that can do it. So I thought,
Right.
okay, instead of going fast, I will go about half of that speed, but it's a speed that is comfortable for me. I can keep it for a few miles. But the dog will have to do faster steps, so he has to breathe in and out really fast. That was comfortable for me, and I kept going. And after a mile or so, the dog started falling behind, and he got exhausted. He got exhausted, and I kept, but because it was a comfortable speed for me, not too fast, I could keep going up to the next city actually, and the dog stayed behind. And I thought, okay, a good lesson from learning how animals actually breathe and how they manage their energy, so
Yeah.
I thought, okay, at least I'm not faster than the dog, but I'm not as dumb.
Yeah, I should have tried some of that. I always try to get them back into the house somehow. Take them home, say, here's your dog. He's out chasing me on the road or whatever.
You're too nice.
Yeah, I know. I spent a lot of time doing stuff like that. My wife would say, I thought you were going to be here sooner. And I said, well, I had this dog. And she knew immediately what I was doing. We have a dog and a cat. So leaving a dog behind and to get hit by a car or something, I just thought, I got to get this dog home. That's what I would do.
I had 3 dogs get out of a farm in Texas once and try to attack me. I was actually hoping they would get run over, because I ran to the other side of the road, and it was a busy road. And it was really a really dangerous situation. It was one was like a German Shepherd, and the other 2 were pit bulls or something like that. Some big serious dogs. And the farmers leave their gates open very often, right? They don't expect anybody to run, to be running down the road in front of their farm. So they just leave the gate open. Nothing ever happens. Well, but the problem is that one day you happen, and then the dogs come after you. So that was a really, really sticky situation.
Yeah. Maybe that's why you should have taken a northern route, because you would have had the dogs I had. Mine weren't going to attack me.
Maybe the Yankee dogs are better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. But okay. And after the run, what have you been doing since then?
Well, that's interesting, because we got back like toward the end of December, and we were trying to decide what we were going to do, and then COVID hit, and we decided, well, I guess we're not going anywhere. So I signed up and became a contact tracer. So I talk to people who have COVID and find out, what kind of symptoms they have, how who they've been around, and, tell them about what they need to do, that kind of thing. So been doing that since then, and I'm actually at work right now.
Oh,
So I'm taking my
so
lunch break right now.
okay. So it is still busy. I think that now in the northern states, because people will be indoors a lot, the number of cases are going to go up. So, but
Yeah.
this will be a busy time for you.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
now is the time to go
Yeah.
to Florida.
Last year, everyone thought, oh, we're going to get through this. It's going to be fine. And then all of a sudden the cases went up in the winter or
Yeah.
late in the fall through the winter. So, um, they're expecting that they're going to hang on to me and people like me until next July.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So,
that's what I've
all
been
right.
doing.
So that's what got you busy, and I often talk to people that just finished, their run. I like to ask about their lifestyle, to see how they are handling, the difference, and if they had a plan of what to do, or if they adapted well back to life after doing something like this. And as far as we are talking, it seems like you did well.
Well, yeah, uh, I think it would have been very different had COVID not happened. We're very unlikely we would have been here. We were really thinking about moving to another state, doing something completely different.
Hmm.
Um, but because of COVID, we just thought there's this is not a good time to be moving around the country. We don't know
Hmm.
what's going on. You got to meet people that we don't know whether they're vaccinated or not, or we just thought it was just better for us to stay home. Now we still, I mean, we still get out a little bit. I'm out every day running. I go out, but I'm alone. Um, so we do miss not being around our friends or family, things like that. Um, but we probably would have had a very different life had we been able to do what we were
You
considering doing.
you would be in Arizona living in an RV in the desert right now.
Yeah, it's a
Probably.
real possibility. It would have been
Yeah.
a real possibility because we liked Arizona.
Uh-huh.
We liked the desert of California.
Uh-huh.
My wife loves the desert,
Uh-huh.
and it would have been one of our thoughts of being
Well,
there.
when I went to Arizona and Southern California, going to Joshua Tree,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
that part of the country is gorgeous. I called it. I use the Neil Armstrong's words to describe the moon. It's a uh, magnificent desolation. Um, it's so beautiful. It's
yeah,
it's impossible. Of course, you depend on bringing everything you need. All your food, all your water. If you don't
right,
have solar panels, you need to run a generator. All those things. But it is gorgeous, and especially early in the morning and in the afternoon when you are on the
yeah,
road on your bicycle or running. The images are, you stand in awe to
yeah,
how amazing that is. And
yeah,
part of that admiration is that I didn't grow up in desert. I grew up, near the beach. So I always
right,
lived near the ocean. So visiting the desert before I did it the first time, I was a little afraid of it. I was a little concerned, especially with, oh, am I going to run out of water? And once I did it, not just it was so beautiful, but water is the least of your concerns, because everyone that sees you running in the
yeah,
desert stops to ask
yeah,
if you need anything. It's
yeah,
a They are used to it. They are used to
yes,
stop and ask if you need help, and they bring
yeah,
you. If you ask, there were situations that I met people in the desert that they brought me food, you know, they came back later, they came back the next day to find me and brought me beer and food and water, ice, you know, like it's really, really awesome how helpful people are in an
Yes,
environment where there are not a lot of people.
right.
But when you are here on the East Coast, there are people everywhere. Like everything that you have in abundance loses value, right? So people then
Right,
are not that important. People see you
right.
on the side of the road, you're just another dude on the side of the road. You know, doesn't make any
Yeah,
difference. So yeah, seeing that part of the country was really amazing, and I don't blame you for considering living there in an RV. It
yeah.
sounds like a good plan. Do you still have the RV?
No, we actually sold it.
Hmm.
When we decided that we were going to stay here for a while,
Hmm.
we just thought if we go back out to do something, we'd want a different RV.
Mm.
So let's get rid of this one. And then when we're ready to go do something, go get what we really want for that. The
Hmm.
RV we had, we chose just for that run. We
How
knew
big
what
was that? How
it
big
was
was
like
that?
a 30, it was about 30 foot.
Uh-huh.
It had um, queen size bed in it. It had a bathroom with a shower, had, a
Hmm.
small kitchen and, dining area, TVs, uh,
Hmm.
air conditioning, all the comforts that we wanted. It was big enough that we didn't feel totally cramped in. It would, because
Uh-huh.
it would expand, the slides would come out.
Uh-huh.
When you were parked somewhere, you
Uh,
could really feel like it was okay.
so it was a small
Um,
apartment with a truck attached to it. Right.
kind of like that, yes.
Mhm.
And it was my wife said she wanted something with the right amount of power that could get up over the mountains. And so she had some real thoughts about it. And I just said, whatever makes you happy, I will sleep in that. I've slept in small tents all over the country, so I don't
Mhm.
care.
Mhm.
But she said, if we're going to do this, we got to do it right. So she researched it and got the perfect RV for that. Um, but if we were going to go do just driving around the country, we would pick something completely different because you got
Mhm.
to. We would have different goals. How long would we stay somewhere, or do we
Mhm.
want to park it and then drive a truck away, or do we want something small where it just
Yeah,
depends.
I was coming from North Florida a few days ago, and I saw one of these big RVs with it had a kind of a platform on the back with a motorcycle on top, and it was pulling a car with two bicycles on top, and there was a kayak too.
Yeah,
Oh wow, he's bringing the entire neighborhood.
yeah. I now something I don't think we would go for anything like that. That's a little bit beyond what we would want. We carried a couple of bicycles with us, um, but we never used them.
Mhm.
So I can't imagine having bicycles and all this other
Yeah.
stuff and
Uh,
pulling another car. And I mean, that's just, you gotta, you gotta be thinking about how you're driving that thing, where you can go. You can't go very many places with
I
something that big.
I was surprised, you know, if it was legal, he would also be pulling a boat behind that. You know, it's
Right.
some people would do all they would make a
Yeah.
train. Yeah.
But where we were, I mean, I couldn't even tell you the route that we took
Mhm.
because, well, my wife's got it all written down,
Mhm.
but she had me going down some roads that, you could only find on a county map
Mhm.
because that's what she would use out west. And you couldn't take a big RV down some of those roads. There's just no way.
But wait
You
a
had to
minute.
have.
When you were in the Midwest, what states did you go through?
So I went through Ohio,
Okay.
Indiana,
All right.
Illinois,
Okay.
Iowa, Nebraska,
Okay.
all the way into Wyoming. Now I'm out
All right. So
west.
you didn't go to the Dakotas. You didn't go to a lot of
No,
oil fields and things like that.
didn't see. No, there
Okay.
was oil. Uh, there was quite a bit of oil in Ohio
Mm-hmm.
and some in Nebraska,
Mm-hmm.
some in Wyoming.
Yeah. Let me tell you why I mentioned. If you go to a place where there is a lot of oil extraction, like in South Dakota or West Texas, what happens is that they lease, they take a block of the state, sometimes the size of you know the size of a small state, and they lease all the farms there, all the land, even the ones that are not super productive, but if they can squeeze any oil out of it, they will lease that land as well. And then because they are using all the properties in the area, they take that road and make it private. Those
Yeah,
states allow them to do it. So they put a gate, they put a sign and security inside, because they don't want anybody going there that is not related to that business, right? Or
right,
that doesn't need to be there for some reason. Um,
right,
and I didn't know about it. When you look at Google Maps, there are roads,
right.
for example, between Pecos and El Paso. There is a road that goes nearly straight. But then when I
Yeah,
got there, I thought, oh, this is actually private with private security, which I don't trust.
right.
And now I had to go like, it added like 3 or 4 days to my run just to going around that block.
Yeah,
Same with Joshua Tree, south of Joshua Tree. You
right.
could go from Los Angeles, you could go east, go along the south side of Joshua Tree and straight into Arizona. Beautiful road, but it's all blocked, and and there is no um, if you run into anything, you're really isolated. Like over
Yes,
there, uh, between, I would say, between Joshua Tree and Arizona, no matter if you are on the south or the north, you will be alone. There is not a gas station, there is nothing for three
right.
days. And
Yes,
and I remember when I was in Benning, east of Benning, between Benning and Palm Springs, there are the wind farms there.
right.
And going through the wind, I went to the wind farms in 2011, no problem. But when I went again, going the other way in 2014, security showed up. And they were
Oh,
not, yeah, they were respectful, but they said, no, you cannot go through. So, but sir, it's a public
oh,
road. They said, it's a public road that is leased to this property, so we can tell you that you cannot go through. I said, all right, so I can go back. I said, yeah, you can go through this gate that is the nearest. So, all right. And so I did that. But yeah, they can tell you to leave. And if you are not used to dealing with that kind of thing,
yeah,
it's very strange. It's okay for me because I'm kind of comfortable with that. There's some because of experience, but a lot of people would freak out, to be in a place where
yeah.
there is no witnesses, and armed security shows up in a pickup truck. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I also I slept on a field once in West Texas that I went to the gate, and there was this warehouse way like a half a mile north, in this big open area, big open area. I was slightly banking down towards a river that was so far I couldn't see it. So I went down in that direction. And once I thought, okay, this place is dry and clean enough, I thought I'm going to camp here. And then a pickup truck came from that warehouse.
Oh,
And I thought,
wow.
all right, that's not good. And and that's not the way I think. I think this is very unknown now. It can be good. And it was. The guy came in and he said, "Hi, like I just checking. What is her business?" And I said, "Oh, I'm running across America and all that." Ah, okay then. I just came over because we had people stay here and shoot at the warehouse. We have some
Oh,
bullet holes
wow.
that people decide to. What they thought that maybe they thought nobody was there, and we have a few bullet holes that people were practicing
Oh my
targeting
gosh.
here. I said, "Wow, that's pretty annoying, but don't worry, I promise I'll not shoot your warehouse." He said, "All right, need anything?" I said, "No, I'm fine." I said, "Okay, then." And then they never. But then I told him, I said, "Do you mind if I camp here?" He said, "No, no, no, just stay right there." But then after I waited a little bit, and then when it got darker, I moved my camp to another part. So I don't want them to see where I am exactly.
Yeah.
And but I had a, a lot of encounters because I didn't have the a trailer or an RV, in a support team. So I depended on talking to everyone. The food that I
Yes.
got was the food that I found along the way. The water, and I told earlier that water is easy in the desert. It's because first of all, a lot of people stop and they offer you water, but every working crew along the way that they are working on anything on the side of the road or equipment or construction crew, they have to have a lot of water in their trucks, by
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
by
makes sense.
regulation and by common sense. They usually have a big round cooler full of ice and bottles of water. So I just asked them, and they always had plenty. You know, just take
Oh,
as many as
wow.
you want. So they bring a lot of water bottles, and they also had ice, which is nice. So yeah, getting water in the desert is so easy. So don't worry about that. But because I didn't have a support team, I really depended on the generosity and the kindness of people. And
Yes.
in 2000, almost 5,000 miles, I only had like two or three situations where people were kind of indifferent. They didn't give a fuck. But and I had one case in which I thought, okay, this can be hostile. Like the guy was rough, and he was uh, he was not hospitable at all. and but it didn't turn out into anything bad. I was just
Yeah.
you know kind of ready for it, but it didn't turn bad. But other than that, it was only kindness. And I
Yes.
think you felt a lot of that when you were riding the bicycle, because you had to
Exactly. I
interact.
I tell people because I spent 6.5 months cycling,
Mhm.
and that was like the best 6.5 months for me because I was working on my master's degree in counseling. And when I got back, I said, you know, you can't be cynical after you come through something like this because
Right.
everybody I encountered was nice to me.
Yeah.
Everybody, no
And
matter where I was, no matter
and
what I was doing, everybody
Mhm.
was nice.
I
And
feel
I,
that
you know,
a lot of the division and the animosity we have in our country could be just corrected with people traveling a lot. Because if you like, I have friends that they say, uh, like I remember one friend criticizing people because they voted for Trump or because they voted for Biden or something like that. And and I said, but have you been there? Like,
yeah,
have you met those people?
right,
Have you seen what it is that they are worried about, and what it is that they are, what is their concern, and
yeah,
how friendly and actually nice they are. And how are their blind spots? You know, there are things that it's for them to understand and things that it's difficult for us. But if you travel and you meet with them, you're not going to
Right.
call them stupid. You're not going to call them, unkind words,
Right.
because you understand where they come. You may still not agree with their decision, or you may not agree with
Right.
what is the remedy for their concerns. That's for sure, but you at least you are not going to have any bad sentiments about them. And
Yeah.
I think that a trip like you did, or a trip like I did, completely corrects for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you really need to see this country from a different perspective. Just travel around, especially if you go on foot or by bicycle, where it forces you to slow down and meet people,
Mhm.
you get a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very different. I my I mean I grew up in Detroit where I got to be very cynical. But
Mhm.
after that trip, I realized like 99% of the people in this country are good people, and
They are
we just
they are
we
they are
don't know
good.
that.
They are good, honest, and hardworking.
Yes.
Very close to 100%. And occasionally they may not be very educated, and
Right.
they may be very different than you in many aspects. But one aspect that is pretty consistent is how friendly they treat you, and
Yes.
also running across America is a way of encountering people and meeting the best version of them. So we can even say
Yes.
that you are not meeting their normal, busy, distracted ways. They see you as a novelty, so they want to know
Right.
you. When they ask you questions, they actually
Right.
want the answers. They are
Yes.
really curious about you.
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
and when you go to a strange land, and you meet people, they are usually going to be m- the kindest version of themselves. And
Yes.
I can only tell of one situation that is even better, and that's when you're doing the same thing, you're traveling through their land, and you have to meet with them, but you don't know the language. Then it gets
Right.
even better, because now from both sides you are trying to get out of your way to try to understand and try to convey what it is that you are doing, and they may know no English or very little English, and that's the very best. The
Yeah.
the ideas that they can transmit to you are simple, and the simpler ideas are usually those, in a way, they're the most sincere, and they are the most helpful. And I did a lot of traveling by motorcycle in countries where I didn't speak the language, and it it was it was like that and even more.
Yeah.
So I also recommend to people, don't criticize don't criticize the Europeans too much. Go to Europe first and spend some time,
Yes.
and then you're
Exactly.
going to criticize them. But you will do that with it will be rapid in kindness and understanding, of what it is that they care.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's really at the crux of why I was so eager to go out and do the run across the United States is I already knew
Mhm.
that this was going to be okay from that perspective. I didn't know what my run was going to be like,
Mhm.
but what I was telling my wife was you're going to meet a lot of people along the way and you're going to be surprised on how many nice experiences you're going to have. And she to this day talks about how people treated her and what they did for her, and it was amazing. I mean,
Some
she
of
had
some
she had some experiences with people she could never have gotten if she just sat home and just did the same old same old.
I have a few stories that I never told in a podcast because I cannot tell them without crying. Just remembering them, I get emotional.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
beautiful and so intense they were, you know. And you can only do that by exposing yourself to that situation.
Right.
That will never come to your house.
No, no.
It will only
There was
happen
one
in the
time,
wild. Yeah.
yeah, there was one time when I was running down the road and a guy pulls up in his beat up old car. He looks like he's like hasn't slept in 3 days. He's and he's saying, "What are you doing?" And I explained to him, and he said, "Wow, that's impressive." And then he said, so he goes, he turns around, he drives away, and I think, well, that's it. I'm not going to see him again. Then all of a sudden, he pulls back up, and he's got an ice cold water. He hands it to me, and
Ah,
I say thanks, and he drives away.
yeah.
I mean, well, who does that? I mean, I didn't
Everybody,
ask him for
apparently.
water.
Apparently,
I
everyone
didn't.
does that.
Yeah, I didn't ask him. I didn't ask. I didn't.
Yeah,
I don't know. But he just automatically
yeah,
just turned around, went back to where he came from, got the
yeah.
ice cold water, and came back just to
Yeah,
give it to me. And
during
it's
my
like,
first week, I was still in Florida because it takes 3 weeks to get out of Florida, right? So, and during my first week, I was feeling miserable, and it was going to be cold that night, and a guy stopped his truck, and he said, "Hey, I saw you 20 miles this way yesterday. Are you traveling?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm running across. Yeah, I'm trying. Well, I'm shuffling. I'm trying to run across the country."
right.
Uh, and he said, "Did you know that it's going to be 25 degrees tonight? Are you camping?" I said, "Yeah, I'm camping." He said, "Did you know it's going to be it's going to be below freezing tonight?" I said, "Yes, yeah, well, I'm ready for that." And then he took his jacket off and he wanted to give it to me. You know,
Wow.
and I explained, well, I really appreciate that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Happens that I have pretty good equipment, so and
Yeah.
then it's really not necessary. But I want to be sure that you understand that I'm very grateful for that. No, you literally took the
Exactly. I
jacket
mean,
out of
come
your
on.
back to give it to me. That's amazing. And and that was the first week, and it was a pretty good sign of what was to come. When
Yes.
uh, I think that just 2 or 3 days later, another guy stopped a pickup truck. Almost the same conversation. I saw you 20 miles over there, and now I see you here. Are you traveling? I say, yeah. Say, yeah, I brought a bicycle for you. You had a bicycle on the back of the truck. I said, then I explained, no, I thank you, but I need to do that on foot. So that's my idea. But thank you so much. All right, you're crazy. You know that, right? I say, yeah, I know. It's a lot of that. That is a lot of that. And I
Yeah.
know that the main audience for this video will end up being other crossers, right? Some of them are still
Right.
planning to do it, and
Right.
I like that they know that by watching us, that they know that this is the normal.
Right.
You need to prepare for the 0.01%. Of course, you need to
Right.
be ready to defend yourself. You need to be ready to avoid those situations. You need to have a good conversation so you can, dissipate when people are not in a good state of mind. But
Right.
you also need to be prepared for people being nice to you.
Yes.
That also requires that you be ready for it, because it will happen
Yes.
a lot.
It will. It will. Yeah. That's what I love about doing stuff like this is
Mhm,
you get to meet these people that,
mhm,
like you said, brings out the best in them. And I relish that part of the whole journey because I knew every day I I was telling my wife that once we got through Ohio, there wasn't a day that somebody didn't stop and ask me what I was doing
mhm,
and what they could do to help.
mhm.
It was every single day.
Yeah.
It didn't
And
matter where I
and
was, what
and
state
if
I
you
was in.
and if you give an interview to radio or TV, brace yourself, because next day, there will be cars parking to talk to you, and
Yeah.
people wanting to help and people giving you money. I left Miami with my debit card and $100, and I thought I'll try to not use the debit card,
Right.
and I arrived in Los Angeles with the debit card unused and $700. Because people keep giving you money and
Yeah.
food and offer places to stay. I have my friend Mark. He wants to take a vacation sometime during next summer, and we will go to around where you are, and we will walk the Appalachian Trail
Oh, yeah.
about 2 weeks worth, because that's his vacation time, right? And we would love to meet you then, and we will invite you to join in if you want,
Yeah.
because we want to do
The
the Blue
start of the
Ridge.
Appalachian Trail, the
Yeah.
start of the Appalachian Trail is not far from where we live.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd take you right to the top of the Appalachian Trail. You come to
Mhm.
Georgia,
Yeah,
and
I
we'd
am
love to
I am
have you.
I am already inviting myself to that.
All right. All right. Sounds good.
All
Well,
right.
we'd love to have you.
And what's next, man? What is in terms of running, or are you planning anything else, or another adventure,
Well,
or?
actually, my wife and I have talked about canoeing down the Mississippi River.
Mhm. All the way
We've read
from
about,
the north, and
yeah, start up in Minnesota
okay,
and go all the way down to Louisiana. Yeah. It would take
that
about 4 or 5 months.
that can be a great adventure, and staying
Yeah,
at places and camping, and
right,
again,
exactly.
counting on the generosity of strangers. That can be a
Exactly.
great trip.
Yes.
All right,
So,
we should do it.
yes, well, we're looking at it. We just got to figure out when if there's going to be anybody else involved in it or not. So, we're really interested in it. We're gonna do it. It's just a matter of let's figure this out. So,
Very good. Patrick, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. You're inspiring. Your words are very respected and interesting, and I love that you did this. And I wanted to thank you for that. And is there anything else you would like to tell people before we close?
well, I enjoyed this conversation, and if there's anything I can say is, if there's any fear at all about taking on something like this, put it aside and just do it. It's the greatest thing. Um, I can't say enough good things about it. I learned a lot about myself and a lot about everybody else, and it's nothing but good stuff.
Mhm.
So I encourage everybody to just put the time aside and go do it.
Mhm.
So,
Patrick, thank you very much. I think there is no better place to stop than this.
okay.
See you soon.
All right.